Eugene, Springfield, Lane County, Oregon. Support our work. Make a donation at strpod.com. Thank you for listening to Spent the Rent podcast. And now, here's your host, Patty Rose.
Hello and welcome to the Spent the Rent podcast. I am your host, Patty Rose. Today I'm joined by my close friend, Blair Hickok, a redemption story, a community organizer, and someone who keeps showing up for others even while fighting her own battles. From facing homelessness to now being an undergraduate researcher at the University of Oregon, Blair's path is proof that resilience and community support really looks like. Before we get started, I want to share something that's been really challenging for me, to say the least. As many of you know, I have been dealing with an eye condition called CSR, which is central serous retinopathy, and it's kept me out of work at the barbershop indefinitely, forced me to lean on others more than I ever thought I would have to. Right now, my diagnosis is 2 to 6 months. I'm getting spots on my right eye, which is my good eye, and so I'm just not able to focus for any longer than maybe 10, 20 minutes at a time, and then it gets blurry. It's pretty tough. So I just kind of wanted to talk about it a little bit. I want to give a shout out to everybody who's donated to the GoFundMe. I put a link on my website, strpod.com. You can go there and you can click directly on the GoFundMe link and find out more about that if you'd like. It's at strpod.com. So Blair, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me again.
Yeah, I don't know how many times you've been on, but like I said in the intro, the first time you came on, we've known each other for over 20 years. The first time you came on, you talked about your battle from recent homelessness. At that point, it had been a few months that you had gotten housed again. And I've had you on numerous times over the years, and I'm super proud as a friend of yours to watch you grow and get more and more involved in the community and become a community leader. And so, hey, thanks again for being here. And we got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we really do.
So let's give a little bit of an update. Like I just said, you're almost in grad school. You're on a path to get your doctorate. It's a hell of a journey. And like I said, tell me a little bit about that. School starts in 2 weeks or a week?
I got about 3.5 weeks.
So
I'm finishing my last year up of my undergrad. I'm going to get my BS in business administration with an operations and business analytics concentration. So after that, I'm going to go to grad school and get my MPA, which is Master's of Public Administration, which ties into the undergrad research I'm doing right now, which is correlating the affordability gap for people on a fixed income versus rental increase rates in Oregon and how that contributes to homelessness, because this is a data point that the city and the point in time counts don't make.
Sure.
So,
and
anyways.
I mean, on average, it's the number that I've always heard is that there's as many, it's 4,500 to 5,000 people a night, but there's no way to know clearly who's what and what constitutes as homeless. But yeah, that's good work.
Yeah.
So that's cool. How do you stay focused when life is so expensive, and who sets the price of eggs and gas?
Ooh, it was Obama's fault.
It's still Obama. Damn
God.
Obama.
I know. So it's really interesting because I was asked this by a family member recently, and it's really crucial to understand that the number one thing that I've realized that helps me in this whole entire thing called life is not being afraid to fail. So once I made that choice in my mindset of not being afraid to fail, it kind of changed the game for me. You know what I mean? The stressors become less intense, for example. And making that realization that shit's gonna happen.
Yeah,
man.
that kind of answers my next question of when you're in the hardest moments, what helps you keep going? And I guess it's just a positive outlook. And for me, I mean, everything has fallen apart in a short amount of time. It's like a country song. I haven't listened to the new Tim McGraw song that everybody keeps talking about, but it's probably something like this, where in a 3-month time, I lost my relationship, my house, and then now it looks like maybe my job. And so, I know that I'm not going to be working for a while, at least, and I don't know what the future holds, which makes it tough. And we'll talk about that in a bit, about how the challenges of disability as a self-employed worker. But for me, the only way that I'm staying positive is I do have a lot of people that are reaching out and supportive because I've been open about it, because that's kind of the way that I function. Other people do it differently, and I'm not going to judge the way that people handle it. I'm grateful that there's resources like GoFundMe where you can give a description. People know the name recognition. Yes, there's issues with how much you have to pay, fees, but it's about the same as any type Square Reader or any of those. It's pretty consistent. But I'm grateful for those things, and I think that it can be abused, but it is really scary when we find ourselves in a position where you wake up one day and it's like, okay, now you're not going to have income for the next 6 months. And I mean, it's like literally happens overnight. Sometimes you have no idea.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. It's just really challenging. We've both been on different sides of it. So now, would you like to give us an update about your health issues? I know that you've been dealing with cancer. You've been very public about it. So tell me and tell the audience what's going on with that.
Yeah. So this summer I got accepted into the Trio McNair Scholars Program, and I got a summer research internship, which is what I'm doing my undergrad research for. And right when I was going to start my research, I got diagnosed with breast cancer. So I had a really, really, really rough July. They found a couple lymph nodes that were hardened.
Mm-hmm.
And so I spent 2 weeks in bed crying. My best friend took my son for that time so that I could process these emotions, but not knowing if it had spread to my lymph nodes or not was a really, 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 really sad time for me, because that's a game changer. If it's in your lymph nodes, it's a game changer. So anyways, they took a week to do all the testing and stuff, but it turns out that my lymph nodes are clear and the cancer is localized to my breast. So I'm going to get a double mastectomy with reconstruction. Right now they're doing the insurance dance. So I am disabled as well, and I am on Medicare. And so I was told by the surgeons that Medicaid is the least preferred, but Medicare is a little better. So I did find a reconstructive surgeon, which I told was going to be one of the barriers besides insurance.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this was a real tough thing to happen right before my senior year. I don't have time for this.
Right.
I am way too fucking busy.
You have gotten some decent, I mean, from the first diagnosis to where you're at today, there has been some good news. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I'm going to get the double mastectomy reconstruction. If they need to, they're going to do some radiation. It looks like they might. So that's going to be my game plan thus far. I don't know what surgery is going to look like, and
that is still really
know
severe.
how the healing process is going to be. I know there's going to be physical therapy, stuff like that, but
it's so tough when people have these kind of health issues. And like I've said many times, we've been friends a long time, so we're pretty open about this kind of stuff, and even a little bit more, crass off air. But it's so, what is too much? What is left? What is a big amount? It's like one of my really good friends has cystic fibrosis. And she has expressed to me, because with that disease, typically when we were younger, 19 years old, 20 years old was a miracle. And she's, pushing 40 now. And so she's had a double lung transplant, and she's had an extra kidney because one of hers is not functioning. And, she would go and post on Facebook that she was going to go have a surgery. And, after a while, people didn't really they didn't really respond, because they're like, well, you're going to be fine, and I mean, luckily she has been, but there's just so much that goes into it. So I have so much empathy for the different things that people struggle with. You're very public. I'm pretty public about the kind of stuff that I'm going through. I don't really have a choice right now, but to be public about the fact that I don't have income.
Yeah.
And then it kind of slapped me in the face. And so I don't know. I think it really is really up to the individual how they want to handle their personal stuff, and I would never judge on that. But sometimes when you deal with these kind of incidents and when you're very vocal, it leads to people giving sometimes unwanted feedback. And you have been very vocal about this, and you're a very blunt person, which is how, we were little punk rock kids growing up. So many people who end up struggling, they get hit with unsolicited advice or even ridicule. When somebody's struggling, that doesn't mean that they need advice. They need support. So what do you want people to understand about that?
So I'm totally going to say this and say it with my chest out. Unsolicited advice is criticism. And it's all rooted in white supremacy, which is related to paternalism, which is when somebody thinks they know better than the person experiencing their own body and life.
Yeah. And I just think that it's like, people can think about the different layers of how deep they want to go with this themselves. But like, you do have to feel it sometimes when you're in a position, because we've all been on both sides of this. Yeah. Everybody has been on both sides of this. Both of us, everybody listening, to where sometimes you'll be like, someone will say something to you like, oh, I think that I'm going to lose my job or something. And then you want to help them. But a lot of times the way that it comes across, and I've known this by saying this, is that you're basically discrediting what they're going through, because you're like, I know the solution. So it's completely okay.
Yeah.
Whatever you're struggling with, I know how it's going to be resolved, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be resolved in 2 days or 2 weeks or 6 months either. And you don't, as the person giving the criticism, I'm not even going to say advice. You don't have to be present in their struggle. It's like the 10 or 15 minutes that you're having cereal together.
Yeah.
And so you posted something about that recently on Facebook. And I was like, thank you for reminding us that this is true, that we need to be mindful about the way that we approach somebody in a crisis. One thing that I've thought about that you can do is you can ask, if you'd like advice, I'd love to give it to you. Or if you just need me to listen, maybe they need to scream at God.
See, that's the thing. If somebody comes to me with a struggle, the first thing I ask, do you want to talk about it?
I really do think that it's a cool thing.
I'm here if you want to talk.
Right. And I'm no expert on this, and I'll be clumsy and awkward and say the wrong thing. And that's okay too. Just own it, and just because people are really struggling, so they're going to be really, really, really kind of, wound tight. I don't know the right word.
Yeah. Here's the thing though. We need to talk about this. If somebody comes to you with a struggle, you don't have to say anything to them. Sometimes they just need to talk. They need to be heard. They need to be seen. Right. And that's the thing is we as a society here in the United States, we like to center ourselves. And that's the thing that drives me bonkers. I even post that meme. Don't make me tap this sign. Cause it's like, from The Simpsons, the bus driver. And it's like don't give unsolicited advice. Because it's like, especially with cancer, like everybody's got a solution. Like I'm so fucking sick of hearing about ivermectin and soursop. I don't want to hear it. I don't stop eating sugar. I'm going to do what I want because it's my body and I live in it. I'm also going to trust medical science. So yeah.
Right.
It just discredits the fact that people have this lived experience as themselves and have gone through the process to try and resolve things on their own. And maybe that's why they're kind of reaching out and being like, this sucks. Can I vent?
Sure. And that's the thing that's funny is that you get to a point where you kind of just try not to let that kind of stuff bother you as much. And then you see it so much clearer that the other person that's actually giving the criticism is actually almost reaching out for help themselves, in a weird way. Like or at least we're all dealing with our own ways of interpreting everything. And so it's so tough. I don't know. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that. How do you personally deal with criticism and even potential ridicule that sometimes comes with being in desperation or open about vulnerabilities and struggling with making ends meet?
So here's the thing. I got diagnosed with cancer and my mortality was put in my face like this.
Right.
It's like this.
Right.
And so some things changed in my mindset. One of the things that I have been working on kind of decolonizing in my mind is working on the fact that other people's opinions of me aren't my fucking business. And they don't affect my life in any way, shape, or form. They don't pay my bills or any of that stuff. So that being said, I get criticized a lot. I don't fucking care. I am privileged enough to be able to say that because I've done the work to get me to this place and had situations which have gotten me here. And so I'm thankful for that. But here's the thing that keeps me going with my unwavering openness with the struggles that I face and the triumphs that I have. Somebody always, always, always reaches out. Every little thing that I do, somebody always reaches out. It might be one person, but it's always someone and says, thank you. Thank you for putting your story out there because it gives me hope or it gives me passion, or it gives me motivation or whatever, when it comes to like the volunteering or the research or the health struggles or, overcoming, rampant drug use and homelessness and all that stuff. And so that keeps me going because I can't not be unapologetic about who I am anymore because I've got a little kid watching. I'm raising this person.
Sure.
I want them to see that it's okay to struggle. It's okay to have people support you, to show up for you. And it's also really important to advocate for yourself. That's another thing that I'm privileged to be able to do now as someone who is, you know, a single mother and a student and going through cancer and all this other stuff. So it's, I don't know. It's such a wild thing because I like post the pictures of me in a bikini. I write the posts about crying for 2 weeks. You know, I show the pictures of me actively using drugs, you know, and it gives me hope that maybe the mindset's changing with others because I don't have the perfect body. I don't have the perfect solutions. I'm not doing the perfect stuff.
Sure.
I'm just trying my best.
And nobody should be expected to. I mean, but you know, I mean, I always just wanting to know because I've always kind of wanted to. I've been drawn to be somebody that likes to be considered an empathetic person. I really do have compassion for people, even people that I don't like, you know. And when somebody has came to me or confided in me in something, I never really knew what to say. And it's hard to be on that side of it where you don't know what to say. And one thing that I started leaning into is just saying thank you for sharing.
Yeah,
like you're saying, like in the moment, like not just on a Facebook post, to just be like, wow, like thank you for being, you know, trusting enough in our friendship that you could be open because I want you to be open so that you can work through your stuff because I care about what you're dealing with. Maybe I can learn and you can lead by example in this, and then, you know, we can trade roles down the road multiple times back and forth. I mean, that's what friends are for.
Yeah.
You know, and it just took me a long time to find out something to kind of go with. And that's kind of what I do now is just say like, hey, thanks. First of all, let's, you know, the reason that I learned that is because people always ask me when I quit drinking alcohol, how I did it and like, what was your secret and all that different stuff. And, you know, what I learned is that people asking me was the best medicine. When people were asking me what I was doing or what my secret was, and I would just tell them that, I would be like, okay, first of all, you asking me this is the great reward of making a goal that somebody could be inspired by of any kind, you know? Mm-hmm. And so it's like when people run marathons, I have no idea why they would want to do that, but I respect the hell out of them for doing it.
Yeah.
You know, so, but yeah. And, you know, sometimes you and I we handle things differently. We get on each other's nerves, but I really am grateful for that because of the fact that we've always came back and we've always at one time we were talking about like activism basically. And you were like, oh, we need to get more active, you know? And I'm like, I think we need to calm down because I see so much aggression in the world. And we kind of came to a conclusion that it's like, actually, I think we both need to do what we do because we both at different times are going to reach different audiences. And then we come together and we have a huge umbrella. Yeah. And so I just think, you know, when we support each other, everybody wins. So there's that.
Can I make a comment really quick?
Yes.
That's related to like what's going on with you specifically.
Sure.
So folks, Patrick here is a prime example of what we're going to be seeing more of. People are going to be having health crises. People are going to be losing their job, whether or not it's related to health crises. Right now, the job market is in an absolute freaking, it's just bad. Anyways, I want you all to take note that something bad shouldn't have to happen to you for you to care about issues. Does that make sense? Because we're like collectively right now, we're all struggling. As a nation. This is
the thing that when people talk about like, you know, the answer, like last episode, and she's amazing, my friend Rebecca that came on, and we were just kind of shooting the shit, but we were really trying to differentiate homelessness and drug addiction. Like those things are just hand in hand. It's not that simple. No, you know, like, but that's the point is everybody wants to say that. So it's not that simple. And even if, you know, if somebody's an addict or whatever, does that mean that they don't deserve to have shelter? I mean, it gets too much. And so, yeah, I think that's a really important thing to point out.
You know, it's really weird. So like when rich people do it, nobody bats an eye. But if it's a poor person, we're like, throw them in jail.
Yeah, it's wild.
I'm like, wait a minute. The richest guy on earth does drugs all the time.
Right.
And we don't care. He also steals money from taxpayers all the time. His Doge also stole all of our social security, address, date of birth, family members.
Yeah,
but nobody cares.
Yeah, that whole but that saying nobody cares, I'm not disagreeing. I think it's true.
I mean,
and we'll
we
get,
care.
and we will get,
but
we
the
will get
people
to the
that can
later.
do
But when
something-
people say right now, and I want to have a chance, maybe later, we're going to talk national politics. We'll talk about Gavin Newsom and some different things. But like, what is it that people can do? I mean, there's so much. Like, Trump has control of the House and Senate right now, and then they're manipulating different states. California, Texas are fighting over who can have more congressmen now, so that they can remap it so that they can control minority rule. It's really scary time.
So they're playing games with our lives. And
100%.
Yeah. So the only way, my humble opinion, the only way we're going to change anything is to get rid of the two-party system. We need a third party that actually represents the people. And until that happens, it's just going to get worse. We have an oligarchy. We do not have a democracy. We have not had a democracy for.
Well, and I think that it's really frustrating in Eugene that we had an opportunity like star voting on the ballot. And shout out to Mark Frohnmeyer and Sarah Wolf for putting the work in on that. And many others, but they're the big ones. And, it's the two-party system, and the corporate Democrats, that I like to call them, are the ones that fought against it. Because they're like, why would we want that? What we don't want in this country is safe seats. We don't want places where you can do whatever you think that the majority wants, and then the people that have equity concerns, then they can just be shit out of luck.
Yeah.
That's what we don't want. And it works that way on both sides, because there is situations where, rural communities, or however you want to break it down, they're getting forgotten too. You know what I mean? Like it happens everywhere.
They've been forgotten. They're actually getting poisoned right now.
Right. So my point is I have empathy for people that I don't agree necessarily politically, because the way that I weaponize my faith, or the lack thereof weaponizing my faith. But that's a different conversation. My point is I believe in freedom of ideology and freedom of the way that we can communicate this democracy. So I do have concerns with what I've researched about ranked choice voting and even star voting in a place like Eugene that is so dominated by one political affiliation. Now, it's such a broad swath that if we can open up the primary setup, then yes, it would lead to communication having to happen, more, because right now people can give non-answers all the time. And because at this point, I mean, first of all, anybody that's been in Eugene, and I do think that there's some really good improvements happening. There is a lot of housing being built in different levels. It's never going to be up to the speed that we need, but there is progress that sometimes does need to be mentioned. And I'm going to be talking to Karin Knudsen on Sunday, and the mayor, and I'm hoping to talk to her about some of the big advancements in what's happening in housing. And if there's any optimism, then maybe we will talk about it, but it doesn't seem like people are very excited about the way things are heading. So why do we keep electing the same people? We
don't have a choice. The system is absolutely rigged.
And I told Karin, she's amazing. I really like her a lot. But I told her when I first met her that I wasn't a fan of the fact that she was endorsed by our previous mayor before we even knew her name. That's how we found out who she was. Is the previous mayor's like, I'm stepping down and this is the person I'm endorsing, knowing full well she would get 70 to 80% of the vote. And I think that it's cool that she's doing a good job, in my opinion. We're going to find out more about what she's working on. But the point is that that's not actually democracy, where you don't actually get a chance to meet different candidates before they've already decided. It's not this, but that's we could be here for days talking about that. I want to talk a little bit about when people find themselves in a financial struggle, or, the rug gets pulled out from under them, how they have to innovate in a changing, labor landscape. I mean, AI is taking over everything, not only jobs, it's also taking over how you look for jobs. It's also going to limit our privacy, because as AI is rolling out for very inexpensive amounts or even free to use the technology, you have to know that we're the product, that they are literally taking everything that we're asking it about our private secrets, and then they're fine-tuning algorithms to be able to brainwash us. Mm-hmm. And so what are your thoughts on how the labor market and work changes with the technology advancements that are happening, and then the equity concerns? Does it level the playing field, or is it actually just going to, like everything else, there's going to be a gap between the people that are either intimidated or don't have the skill set to actually use the technology?
Yeah. So this is a really complicated subject, but I definitely have very strong opinions about it. So being at the college, I never heard of AI before. And then I started at U of O, and like all the students in the business college totally use AI. And I was like, what the hell? But we're not allowed to use it in class, except for when it's very specifically mentioned that we can. It's a student code of conduct violation. You can get kicked out of school. So anyways, that being said, I was completely ignorant with the whole AI thing.
Machine, because it's really machine learning. computer learning, but go ahead.
Yeah. So anyways, I started like dabbling in it and like trying to see what it was about. And obviously everything's a subscription now. You have to rent your life, and that includes AI access. If you want to do anything significant besides be like, talk to me like a boyfriend or whatever, which is fine.
I've yet to ask for that, but yeah,
which is fine. I understand people have their needs, but whatever. That's not mine. But I had a class where I had to use AI, and most of the stuff that was produced for the final project was to be AI. And I, got into it. I got a free subscription to Gemini for a year, the Pro. And so I started playing around with it. I made a really cool PowerPoint presentation. I hated the way that it writes. I don't use AI for writing at all because it's really, really not good. Like you can tell from a mile away. And I just really pride myself in the fact that I'm a decent writer. So anyways, AI. There's also people who experience disabilities that use it for really wonderful things.
My vision hasn't been consistent, so I can't, I've had to, it's like, and the thing is that it's shitty when you put something out there is this, and it's good and bad. I have a lot of support. So a lot of people reaching out to me and calling me and stuff, texting me. Right. I can't read text sometimes.
Tell them to call you.
I have. And it's been cool because I get to talk to people on the phone again. No, but the AI technology is pretty incredible in the way that it can shortcut a lot of stuff. And so it's really about productivity. I don't know what the future holds with it. And we're not going to have a science fiction conversation right now, but like, it is scary where we're heading. And, I don't know. It's interesting how my dad and I were talking the other day, and we have completely different views, but he always was telling me about how he had a very different opinion than my mom about college, right? Like my dad was always like, oh no, trade school is where it's at. You got to get a vocational training. Learning a skill is something that can't be taken from you. And I always I'm grateful for my upbringing because I had these two different philosophies. My mom was so into, she went to school for sociology and psychology, double major. So she's a very different person. She was into therapy and all this different stuff. My dad just was not. Typical 80s. But I don't think he's wrong that not every single person should be going to college.
Dude,
and that,
we need tradespeople.
Yes,
what's wrong with trades?
So I guess where I'm going with this is that if you're worried about AI ethically, then that you can do just like vegetarians, where if you have issues about the damage to the environment, I'm going to respect the heck out of that. That being said, for the people that want to utilize these tools and they're intimidated, don't overthink it. That's the biggest trick to using these tools. Don't overthink asking it to do these simple tasks, like helping you write a grocery list or trying to make something that's going to be a lot faster. It may not be perfect, but it's going to get you close to where you want to be quickly, and then you can spend more time doing the stuff you enjoy. I don't know, like trying to make money to have to buy Netflix and all the different streaming accounts.
Yeah, right.
But
no, it's weird too because like everything's got AI attached to it,
and it's a difficult thing because what that means. There's been artificial intelligence forever. I play sports video games. There's been AI programmed into that for decades.
Right.
This is a little bit different, and I'm not of the pay grade to try to explain it. Maybe I'll have somebody on that can actually explain the way that computer learning is programmed. I have been looking at opportunities if I'm going to be working from home because if I'm limited on my ability to lock in consistent hours because I don't know what to expect in the future. I have to look at options of ways that I can do gig work and supplement income. And so one of the ways is training AI models. Mm-hmm. So you read, I'm literally sitting here with a magnifying glass because I just don't know. Sometimes, in the world we live in, people need to be really mindful of screen time because of the damage, that it does to the eyes. I'm worried about being so pale that I think my eyes got sunburned.
Dude, no. Patrick, you have got to invest in some screen readers, dude.
I know.
They're life changers. I use them all the time. I don't even have vision problems. I mean, I need glasses, which I can't find, by the way. So I want to talk a little bit about privacy in the digital age. When people use search engines, when you start looking for something like a job or housing, which I've been going through a lot of this. I recently moved into a new place, moving from Springfield to Eugene back in June. You're trading privacy for access. How do you balance the convenience of online searches and the risks of giving up too much information? What do you do to try to make sure that you're secure online? People need to be really aware of phishing emails and that kind of stuff. There's so many scams right now and so many scammers that are getting so clean, with AI
that it's really difficult to see. I know we were kind of expecting like an aunt to get a phone call that sounded like you and things like that. I'm sure that that's happening. But the really big one that happens is people will somehow, like if you meet somebody on some social media site, they will there's probably an 80% chance that's not who you think it is. You know, at this point, it's wild how much you can almost just tell. You know, it's weird depending on which apps you use. I see it a little bit less on Facebook than I do on, I think it's just more obvious on Facebook. But if you go on like Snapchat or something like that and you add random people, it's like a really good chance that they're computer bots.
Oh, dude, I was like on the dating sites for a minute. I was like, ooh, I'll try and date. This sounds kind of fun.
It's wild.
It's a bunch of AI profiles.
Yeah. And they're just fishing.
Like,
they're fishing for information. And it's scary because, you know, I mean, anybody that still uses checks blows my mind because on the bottom of your check, it's literally your routing number and your account number written right there. I think that we never thought an email address would be enough for people to have information, but it's getting to that point where if they can figure out they have AI programs that are learning how to crack passwords, you know, and I don't know. I think we probably just need to like unplug everything.
So, you know, I got a little hot take on this. If we funded education more, we would have more scientists and scholars to innovate things like cooling systems that don't involve destroying water sources in rural areas here in America to have these sites.
Yeah, they're like, yeah.
Because that's kind of what other countries did, and they're about to take us over when it comes to like technology and stuff.
I know. And when we only lock in with American exceptionalism, then we don't grow. You know, like there's a lot of things to be proud of, like we have a big stick or whatever, but like I don't know. Yeah, it's really scary. But anyway, we'll see how the future gets even scarier with AI. What do you think that do you think people in vulnerable positions underestimate the risks, you know, that they're just trying to get by? So when you're in a position where you're struggling, and we've talked about this a little bit today, we've seen a lot change in technology in the last 15 years. That's, I mean, probably the most in any 15 years. But I will say that when we were in our early 20s, it was so much different. It was so much different with privacy and that kind of stuff. The idea of everything being on camera. I watch a lot of documentaries, and lately I'm seeing like these, you know, what I used to just call Dateline style documentaries, but they're Netflix and things nowadays that are saying, well, this was in 2017. So they're like somewhat recent.
Yeah.
And then you see how much camera coverage there is across everything. I watched this one where this dude, it was the Jussie Smollett stuff. And Jussie Smollett, and they followed a witness. They could follow him from one restaurant's camera inside, sees him walk by a window to the next one, to the next one, to the next one. So like, I mean, everybody's DoorDash or not DoorDash, Ring cameras and all that. It's wild how much everything's under surveillance. And then with AI, when you put your stuff out there because you want to get like a shortcut to maybe having some tips on handling whatever task, whether it's a relationship or a work environment, you know, they're saving all of that information and then finding out ways to use it later. So I just want people to be clear on the understanding that the companies are doing it digitally. And then you see the bots that are doing it. So it's almost the same thing. You know what I mean?
And then don't forget the government, the
Well,
DOJ agency that literally stole all of our info. And then there was a TransUnion breach the other day.
And wasn't that Big Balls?
4.4 million.
What is that?
No, that was not Big Balls.
No, Big Balls was in Doge. But what is it? What is this? The TransUnion, like a hack?
Yeah, TransUnion got breached.
That's not good.
Yeah, so FYI, everybody who has credit, which you need to exist in America, apparently.
You can freeze your credit, yeah.
You can, however, it costs money.
Sure. Yeah, again, everything there's going to be barriers. So now this is an exciting time. I'm now living kind of near Sheldon. And so I went to leave to run an errand, and that was a mistake because I didn't realize the timing because I moved in June. So this was this week, and it's back to school week. I saw a bunch of kids, you know, doing the funny little wander on their walk to their jaunt to school. I know you have a little one that's starting. What is he in the third grade? How does this shift in energy affect families already stretched thin financially?
Oh my God. It's really interesting because I live on campus, and then I commute to take my kiddo to elementary school. And so we have to time things just right. or else I'm stuck in traffic for a long time. And when you're stuck in traffic, you're using fuel.
Eugene
and I'm,
traffic,
like, so poor.
Eugene traffic is like 18 minutes or less, but still, it is
not for me,
That's
buddy.
wild. That's
not
wild.
when school's in session.
That's
like
true.
You have to understand, I commute.
Well, that is true. And the move-in, I mean, it was a few years ago, and I was in Ireland when it happened. But there was a move-in day where there was gridlock on the streets.
That's exactly what happens.
Yeah.
That's why I was saying I have to
They had
time my things just right.
They had one computer that was doing every single check-in at every single dorm on campus.
Mhm.
One computer.
Yeah, I know.
Wild.
Yeah.
So now Bubba, is he excited for third grade, or
Yeah, he likes it. He's with all of his friends again, so it's cool.
do you think back to school season puts added pressure on local support systems like Neighbors Feeding Neighbors? We've been on talking about Neighbors Feeding Neighbors. It's a group that you work with, volunteer with, and I think you work as the treasurer. Is that correct?
But yeah, I've stepped down as secretary. I've taken a leave of absence for a little while I do my cancer stuff.
So Neighbors Feeding Neighbors, you can go back and listen to the podcast I did with you talking about it. You guys were basically getting a lot of coverage because the city was trying to shut it down, which it's a open denomination. I don't know, like it's
faith-based.
It's faith-based, yeah. And so, but it's open to all people of different beliefs. But it's these group of people that go and meet and then just feed anybody that wants food. And the city was trying to shut it down because it's gotten more and more popular. So how do these kind of back to school seasons, I guess the way that I would frame this question, it's like, do you see as a parent and then also somebody that's been on the other side of the struggle, kind of just like, homeless at a certain point before you had a child? Do you think that back to school sometimes causes problems for the underrepresented because of the fact that people are like, I have to be so focused on what I'm doing because my kid needs a new backpack and needs this, that they lose focus, that there's people in the community that are really, really falling behind? Does that?
I don't think they're related.
I'm not saying that it's like it's cause and effect. I'm just saying that, like, sometimes when you have a focus, and I just see parents that are like,
are you saying like volunteer shortage?
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
So most of the folks that volunteer with us, they are older, retired folks.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a non-issue for us. We have other struggles with volunteership related to other things.
Sure. One of the things I've learned from this podcast is kind of that age group too. Like we just say the boomers right now, that like a lot of them are 55 to 75 range right now that are volunteering a lot. And when I started the podcast, I'm like, why is it always these people are the people on city council? And it took me a long time to understand, but it's really a lot of times because you don't get paid. And so the people that are doing it either have a spouse that is working, that they can live on one income, or they're retired, or they have other means of support, and so they have more time. Now, not everyone. I know that it's different and everybody has their different situations. My point is that it is something I learned about why people that are more involved civically are typically older, and I know that that's not specifically to Neighbors Feeding Neighbors. I'm just saying that the people that do volunteer typically do have, they have the time. Or a lot of volunteer work done in Eugene that doesn't get credit is fraternities and sororities. They actually do a lot. Didn't you do some work with one of the fraternity, or you were working somewhere?
Yeah, I was a housekeeper.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people don't know that they do a lot, but I don't know. Those kids are still punks. So national politics, they might feel far away, especially in Oregon, but the impact always affects us here locally. What issues on the federal level do you see hitting Lane County families the hardest right now? Where do we start?
Dude, I don't even know where to start. I'm glad we live in Oregon because we have a lot of protections that other states don't have. And in Eugene, that kind of rings true a little bit for certain populations. That being said, dude, ICE is like in full force right now. And the criminalizing of homelessness is in full force right now. So basically we're attacking poor folks. We're attacking immigrants. And that's the thing too, is like, dude, if homelessness is such an issue, the way to solve it, and there is science behind this. There is a science. There is all kinds of data, tons and tons. Use Google. It costs about a third of the amount per year to house folks in supportive housing than it does to throw them in jail. have them in the hospital with health issues because
supportive
they're living
housing,
outside.
Supportive housing meaning that you would have someone on site.
Like there would be a cafeteria for folks who struggle with making their own food or shopping for groceries. You would have case managers, you would have nurses, you would have, other just stuff for support. Like you can't just throw somebody in a place to live and expect them to be okay. Like some of these folks have been outside for a really long time and their life skills have either been forgotten or lost, or they didn't have any to begin with because they've been out there since they were kids.
Sure. Yeah.
So anyways, I could go on about that forever because that's literally what my research is about. But,
yeah. Well, I'm glad that you're taking something that you're passionate about and educating yourself though. And you've been doing a lot of connecting, and I've been impressed just seeing online like the depths of your reach, the different, I have a lot of people that I've known, but it's funny because we have mutual friends. You're like, what? How?
I know. Like,
still,
wait, how do you know them?
Still. So now next week, before I move on from this, we'll talk a little bit more about national politics, but I want to remind everybody that on Sunday, I'm going to be interviewing Karin Knudsen, the mayor of Eugene. So if you have a comment or a question that you'd like to ask, go to my Facebook page, the Spent the Rent podcast Facebook page, and shoot me I'll make a post and you guys can add some comments to ask her. I'm going to try to talk to her about the homelessness in Eugene and what's happening and what the update is. I was talking to a buddy yesterday and he told me that Register Guard, which has been like a dying paper forever, it's like under 12,000 or 13,000 subscribers at this point get the paper, and so there's a gap in media locally so much that if anybody thinks what I'm doing is good, that's a problem. That's the way I always look at it. Because
no, dude, like what are you talking about? All of the media companies are owned by these
6 companies. Yeah,
yes, thank you. And those 6 companies' best interests are not giving us local accurate
and it
news.
Still happens with the social media stuff with shadow banning and all that crap. So
correct.
So now we're talking a little bit about national politics though. What do you think about Gavin Newsom? And I know that Gavin Newsom is on the Democratic side, the only one and we're talking national. There's going to be I've talked to a lot of Californians working in Oregon on campus because a lot of the people that go there from the Bay Area and Los Angeles, and a lot of them have either opinions that they've heard from their parents, because a lot of them say it like that. They're like, well, my parents hate him, like, and they're liberal, so is what I hear a lot from these college age kids. I've always kind of been a fan of, Gavin Newsom seems like the perfect person that should have been on like a show like House of Cards, like he's like a movie star president, but I do kind of perk my ears up when he's actually playing hardball with the way that modern politics is disgusting. I think that everybody needs to look into Lee Atwater. Lee Atwater was the mudslinging person for George Bush Sr., and then Karl Rove was the kind of pit boss for George Bush Jr. And Lee Atwater almost kind of started they've done radio and all kinds of entertainment forever. I mean, even Shakespeare, like there's politics in everything, in every medium. But Lee Atwater started like the mudslinging, shit talking, you don't even really believe what you're saying kind of thing. Is he admitted at the end of his life that he didn't care who he got hired by. He just wanted to make money.
Yeah.
And he was deep in politics. The reason I say this is that Gavin Newsom has decided that what he's going to do is he's going to kind of troll Donald Trump by calling everybody in Donald Trump circles by little kiddish nicknames and whatnot. And I know that in the Democratic Party, we're so incredibly fractured, because people want so much more than what we're going to get in politics that I mean, and I just would like to hear what you have to say. But does it matter? Because he's still going to be a corporate Democrat. And I know that he'll never be what we want. But what are you thinking when you see him having to almost, Michelle Obama said, what was it? They go low, we go high, kind of keep the high road. It's not working. Yeah. Like what are we supposed to do politically at this point?
Dude needs to stop with the optics. I'm sick of it. No, so what, like 2 weeks before this stuff started going down, homie was doing photo ops sweeping homeless encampments. Like, fuck him. 100% fuck him.
That's fine. That's why I
so
brought it
if you
up.
want to get on Twitter and fucking do your little I'm still funny and clever. Dude, why don't you go to the fucking Capitol and do a filibuster? Why don't you actually throw a wrench in what they're doing? Do anything.
I do think that I don't know a ton about it, but what was happening, like I had mentioned earlier about Texas and California, is Texas
Oh, the games.
Trying to add
the
more seats.
gerrymandering.
Yeah, trying to add more seats.
Games.
Everybody needs to be
They're
paying
playing
attention.
with our lives.
Oh my God, it's crazy. They're picking the voters is what happens.
They have been since
Forever.
the inception of democracy.
Right. So yeah. Well, Blair, it's always good to chat with you. I want to thank you for being here and always bringing honesty and heart. Your story is proof that redemption is possible and that currently care is stronger than stigma. To everybody listening, thank you for your support, for tuning in, and for standing by while I deal with CSR. If you want to help, you can click on the GoFundMe logo on my website, strpod.com, on the main page. Every bit helps. If you got $5, I'd love it. Anything, you can become a donor on Patreon as well for the podcast. I'm going to try to do a lot more episodes because I'm going to be having a lot more time on my hands. It's a little bit more difficult for me to do the setup, but I just have to take my time.
May I end with a final thought?
Please.
So one of the things that I didn't mention earlier that gets me through these huge struggles that I've been facing is the community around me. That includes friends, family, and people I don't even know.
Absolutely.
I have been asking for help and folks have been showing up for me.
Yeah.
And it's because I have taken the time over the years to form bonds and connections with folks. And I have also done a really good job of carefully cultivating my social ecosystem to a place where, like, for example, if somebody is mad at me, they will tell me. They won't be like, I'm just not going to tell her. She can find out by my body language or whatever.
I think that's a thing I value about our friendship is that we learn from each other.
Yeah.
I just, you know, so I just think that's really cool. Well, thank you for always being open and sharing.
So find your community people, talk to your neighbors and pals and all the friends.
Yeah.
They can help you.
Yeah.
Because you never know when something bad's going to happen.
It is really scary. The future doesn't look very promising for a lot of people because it's uncertain. And that's just what it feels like, you know.
Talk to your people. You will find out we are all on the same page.
Absolutely.
At a baser level, we are all on the same page.
Absolutely. You see that. I always use Thurston during a snowstorm as the example. You see some of the best of our community during that time.
Yeah.
Where, you know, you got a big ass truck that's plowing the yard of somebody with whatever kind of activist sign, you know, and so I mean, you see people not caring about that and really just like wanting to help their neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think that we have a beautiful culture in this area. I think that we pride ourselves on kindness, even though we bicker and we are pissy and we burn stuff in the middle of the road. In Oregon, there's a serious kindness in this culture, you know, that is something that and you know, it changes and evolves because it's being gentrified. I mean, the people that I don't know, Eugene's just changed a lot, but it's still a great place. Thank you so much, Blair. Is there anything you want to add before we get out of here?
Yeah, I want to say one more time, bad things shouldn't have to happen to you for you to give a shit about other people. Yeah. And I mean, empathy, you don't have to go through every little thing to care about it. I mean, that's, you know, I don't know. So hope is built through connection, and conversations like this prove that we're not alone, even in the toughest times. I love you, Blair. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to donate, go to strpod.com and click on the GoFundMe link.